I'm Morgan Gales out here outside of Ojai, California on the Central Coast, riding what I can undoubtedly say is one of the coolest bikes I've ever had the honor of riding. It is an Arch Motorcycles KRGT-1, a very exclusive, bespoke, hand-built motorcycle by Arch, which is a company owned by Gard Hollinger and Keanu Reeves. It's a really just incredible bike, all handmade, huge engine, huge price tag to go along with it, but the ride and everything is really exceptional. Having seen the bike beforehand, I was honestly terrified and super intimidated to come and ride one, but throwing a leg over for the first time, it's comfortable, it fits really well, it's not wily or unruly, it's just a very nice, clean bike that does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Don't get me wrong though, this is not a slow bike. It has an SNS 124 that was developed with Arch. You pair that with their light tubular billet steel and billet aluminum chassis, you end up with a bike that accelerates like it's fallen off a cliff. Not only that, the thing weighs 538 pounds and holds 5 gallons of gas. Yes, it costs $78,000, which is a steep price tag, but you're paying for the exclusivity and the cool factor of this thing as well as the performance.
The sound is a huge part of what people love about American motorcycles, and this bike just captures it so well. For that huge engine, it's surprisingly mellow at idle. It's not crazy loud, but as soon as you crack that throttle, it's just so sharp, it's so crisp, it just breaks to life like nothing. That 124-inch engine's just massive. It's housing these huge explosions in this handmade pipe. It's a 2-to-1 built by Arch that finishes in a custom carbon fiber muffler with a big old KRGT-1 right across it. It's got a little upsweep back there. It's an awesome looking pipe, but the sound of it, it's just, you can feel it in your gut, and it's such a huge part of the motorcycle's soul. As far as where this bike really finds its legs, honestly, I haven't found anywhere that I don't want to ride it. I've only had it for a couple days, but I've done about 300 miles of highway riding, and we've hit the twisties up here in the Santa Barbara Hills. It's got a 240 rear, so it's not the most comfortable getting in the really tight twisties. As soon as you whap the gas, it's got a lot of power, so that rear tire wants to just pick your bike right back up and sort of straighten it out. But it also has top-of-the-line Olding suspension front and rear, and that really makes a difference. If you're off the bike, it's stable, you can keep it down in the turns, and it'll do whatever you want it to. So it's incredibly comfortable just cruising on the highway, just doing highway miles and jamming, but also if you want to cruise off and hit some canyon and get into some twisties, it has a lot more capability than I would have assumed by looking at it.
After so many miles, even if you're not getting sore in that seat, you may want to pull over and just sit back and admire the thing. At the end of the day, sitting back and looking at it is almost as much fun as riding it. It really is a gorgeous piece of machinery.
When you start to break down and really look at any little piece, there's so much that goes into it. That front fender mount is just a wicked little piece, CNC'd out of a solid piece of billet aluminum. It twists up and mounts to the front fender, then triangulates off the caliper, so it's mounted just rock solid. Really cool little piece. Unlike most V-twins, this bike is unique in that the throttle body and air filter are actually mounted in between the two gas tanks. And the way the intake works is it's forced through these two scoops on either side of the headlamp. Sort of works with the speed of the bike to route air down through and in between the tanks. Really innovative system that works really well. So each of the two gas tanks is CNC'd from a single block of billet aluminum that takes over 60 hours of machining to make each one. The right one is actually a structural load-bearing part of the frame as well with the engine mount. I feel sort of silly saying it, but with the long wheelbase, the forward controls, the low seat height, just the general ergos, the stance and everything sort of feels like a Harley touring bike. But, I mean, performance-wise, it's in a different world.
You can't talk about all the awesome, beautiful things about this incredible motorcycle without bringing up a few negatives. And it's honestly really hard to do on this one. Everything that I look at, it's all very well engineered and it's purpose-built and it looks great. So when you talk about things like the vibrations of that 124-inch engine, it's a massive engine, it puts out the power, and you want the sound, you want that vibration. If you get the engine out of its ideal range. The vibrations are crazy. Your butt will itch, your hands will go numb. It's the beauty of the vibrations and the noise. It's a trade-off. You have a long wheelbase and that really big rear tire, which makes it a little bit harder to drop into the hairpins and the really tight twisties. But, I'm not going to go and criticize my Road Glide because I can't drop a knee on it. Everything's a trade-off, and for what this bike does, it's really well engineered and it does everything really well. The bike really is so much more than the sum of its parts. You have all these beautifully engineered components that just come together in such awesome harmony. It stirs something inside, it's got some soul to it, and it's really just an incredible bike.